Good morning, and welcome to
Good
Northern
morning.
Lights Center for Spiritual Living. Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living is a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. And Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. Our promise here is to reveal, inspire, uplift, celebrate, and magnify your greatness. We acknowledge our presence here on the traditional and unceded lands of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and Coastal Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. In a similar manner, we acknowledge how much of what we know in this country today, its culture, economic growth and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their descendants who suffered the horrors of transatlantic trafficking, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We also name the Asian and Chicano people who toiled with little recognition. We are indebted to their labors and sacrifices, and we acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and the resulting impacts that can still be felt and witnessed today. Please join us for our opening song in this very room by Ron and Carol Harris. Good morning. So, everybody knows what time it is. This is a time that we set aside each Sunday, which actually we should probably do every day, for our own good. So we set this time aside to center ourselves, to become still and calm, relaxed, and at ease. So I just invite us to take a few deep breaths in, and allow yourself to feel that breath coming in and filling your diaphragm, expanding your stomach, and then releasing all that doesn't need to be there. And so let's take one deep breath in and release. And you can do it audibly if you choose to. Deep breath in and release. One more time and hold it. One deep breath in, holding it, and release. Oh, that's such a good feeling. And as we become comfortable
as comfortable as we can in our seats or wherever we are. Just allow your hands to relax, your feet to relax. Open up and just allow yourself to feel good. Feel relaxed. Feel at ease. Allow yourself to be comfortable. I invite you to ponder this thought, this phrase. I feel good. What does that mean? Do you feel good physically? Do you feel good emotionally, mentally, spiritually? Does your whole being feel good? The answer is yes. Where does it show up in your body? Does it show up in your head? Your face? All the way down to your toes? Just invite you to allow yourself, give yourself permission to have that feeling. What is the definition of feeling good in your mind? And as you're doing this, remember to keep taking nice deep breaths. Each breath feeds you. Feeds each and every cell, organ, tissue in your body, which when you're properly fed, you can't help but feel good. Repeat after me. I feel good. I feel good. One more time. I feel good. I am calm. I am at the space and time you choose. Just have to set your mind to it. And so with that, I invite you to allow yourself to move your toes and fingers, whatever else you need to move up, and to come back to this room, or the room where you're at. Open your eyes, and welcome back. And so it is. Okay, so now we're going to go to our declaration. Okay, so as you can see on your screen, as we do every week, we're going to say this 3 times. This is what we declare at Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living. Okay. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. Again. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. One more time. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. And so it is. Okay, now, the reading for today comes from a fairly old Science of Mind. It's from 2000, November 2000. I was searching through some today and I found this and I thought it would be appropriate. Okay, it's from November 30th. I found God in myself and I loved her. I loved her fiercely. And I cannot pronounce the name of the quote. I would butcher it. And from Science of Mind it says, we must say that all thought is creative, according to the nature, the impulse, the emotion, and the conviction behind the thought. And the title of this reading is Born in Joy. You don't have to work at feeling good. It is your natural state. Despite appearances, you were born in joy. You were meant to live in pure joy. You take yourself from your natural state by negative thinking. In that negative thinking, you begin to feel bad, sad, angry, fearful, and any of a number of negative emotions. And that negative expression, you lose sight of the joy that you are. As you move into awareness, you can begin to catch these feelings of disease and consciously choose to change them. We are creatures of our own experience. We can choose how long we want to feel bad and whether we want to return to our natural state of feeling good. This is why we say in Science of Mind that thoughts are things. We become conscious creators of our own experience. What good news to realize that the natural state is to feel good. It frees something within us to realize that we don't have to work at being in bliss. Actually, the truth is that we have to work at feeling bad In our natural state of pure joy, we experience the life of God within and beyond. We become aware of the divinity we share with all things. We see joy because that is what we are. Let me repeat that line. We see joy because that is what we are. And the affirmation for that is, I am willing to feel good. I watch my thoughts when I don't feel good. I happily return to my natural state. I live the joy that I am. And so it is. It's you, Charlie Brown.
So this will be our final run through this chant. I rise to the greatness of life within me. I rise to the greatness of all I can be. I rise to the greatness of beauty I see. I rise to the greatness. I rise, I rise, I rise. Magnify, magnify, magnify. I rise, I rise, I rise. Glorify, glorify, glorify. I rise. And we'll switch it up to the next verse. It'll be you. The next verse will be we, and then we'll come back to I. So please join in as you feel comfortable, or just be sung to. I rise to the greatness of life within me. I rise to the greatness of all I can be. I rise to the greatness of beauty I see. I rise to the greatness. I rise, I rise, I rise. Magnify, magnify, magnify. I rise, I rise, I rise. Glorify, glorify, glorify. I rise. Now it'll be you. You rise to the greatness of life within you. You rise to the greatness of all you can do. You rise to the greatness of beauty you see. You rise to the greatness. You rise, you rise, you rise. Magnify, magnify, magnify. You rise, you rise, you rise. Glorify, glorify, glorify. You rise. Now we'll try on we. We rise to the greatness of life within us. We rise to the greatness of all we profess. We rise to the greatness of beauty we see. We rise to the greatness. We rise, we rise, we rise. Magnify, magnify, magnify. We rise, we rise, we rise. Glorify, glorify, glorify. We rise. I rise to the greatness of life within me. I rise to the greatness of all I can be. I rise to the greatness of beauty I see. I rise to the greatness. I rise, I rise, I rise. Magnify, magnify, magnify. I rise, I rise, I rise. Glorify, glorify, glorify. I rise. So today's talk, just so you know, is going to be song heavy because I'm going to be leaning into some of the inspiration that comes with music.
Everything has its season, everything has its time. Show me a reason and I'll soon show you right. Cats sit on the windowsill, children sit in the snow. Why do I feel I don't fit in anywhere I go? Rivers belong where they can ramble. Eagles belong where they can fly. I got to be where my spirit can run free. Gotta find my corner of the sky. Every man has his daydreams, every man has his goals. People like the way dreams have of sticking to the soul. Thunderclouds have their lightning, nightingales have their song. Don't you see I want my life to be something more than long. Rivers belong where they can ramble. Eagles belong where they can fly. I got to be where my spirit can run free. Gotta find my corner of the sky. So many men seem destined to settle for something small, but I won't rest until I know I'll have it all. So don't ask where I'm going, just listen when I've gone. And far away you'll hear me singing softly to the dawn. Rivers belong where they can ramble. Eagles belong where they can fly. I've got to be where my spirit can run free. Gotta find my corner of the sky. The sky.
So as you may have seen from what was on the YouTube video, that was Corner of the Sky performed by Ben Platt, and Corner of the Sky is from the musical Pippin. I brought that in because in the story of Pippin, Pippin is searching through the course of the entire show to find where he belongs. One of the things about feeling good, it's about finding where is that space, where is that place for feeling good. It's a story that is repeated in almost every story. How do we find our spot? Now, everybody's familiar with Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Goldilocks comes upon the Three Bears' cabin, and without fail, she tries everything that's offered. And in some ways, Goldilocks is a beautiful illustration of our own lives. We come into a world filled with things, and we are searching for what is right for us. Now, in the story with Goldilocks and the Three Bears, she tries Papa Bear's things, she tries Mama Bear's things, and the things that always work out beautifully are Baby Bear's things. Papa Bear's chair is just too hard, Mama Bear's chair is just too soft, but Baby Bear's chair is just right. feeling good is about finding what is just right. And in the science of mind, the idea is that just right is within us. Just right isn't something that's out there. Science of mind proposes, it creates the hypothesis that our minds are constructing, co-constructing, co-creating this world in which we live. And it can feel a little bit uncomfortable because there are times that we may find ourselves feeling miserable. And it can feel a bit icky to come up to the conclusion that somehow this icky feeling is something that I created, something that I generated. I remember right after I graduated from college and I joined this program, the director of the program said, nobody can make you feel a certain way. And I was just like aghast at that thought. Nobody can make me feel a certain way. I spent my whole life being a programmed creature whose buttons were so evident. They were just pressed and boom, I would go into something. I remember really wrestling and arguing about that fact that nobody can make you feel a certain way. I would say the only adjustment is that I can make me feel a certain way. And what happens is I let others lead me to feel a certain way. So when I work at a school and a parent complains to me or complains about me, I can respond with, oh my God, they've really found me, they're really accurate, I am a complete and total loser, like they're describing. Or I can hold out the possibility that it isn't the whole story. So what I want to do with today's talk is explore how do we find our own center for feeling good. In that song, Corner of the Sky, the character, Pippin, is describing that for themselves, it's about seeking what's out in the world. And it's about not settling. Now, as we first come into our families, we learn that the way to feel good is to do what our families want us to do. You're a good person. You're a good person when you look at you. You did what I asked you to do. Aren't you great? A big part of our initial development is about pleasing others. How many times do we find that may still be a lingering desire? That we're here to please others. And how many of us start to bristle at that notion of pleasing others at certain points in our lives? So initially, feeling good is about feeling good with fitting in and satisfying what others want. But the question comes up, how much does that answer what is genuinely myself? What am I respecting within myself when I'm trying to please others? What am I sacrificing in myself? So part of today's talk is also going to be looking at the idea of the hero's journey. Because virtually every story is about a journey of some sort. You start, something happens, and it changes us. And then we have to go from where we were and figure out how to solve that problem. So we're little, we find our way to fit in, and then it starts to cramp us. It starts to feel terrible, and we just gotta get out of there. So what I'm going to have us do, I'm going to share this quote from Nicole Hannah-Jones, who did the 1619 project, and she said, "Facing the truth liberates us to build the society we wish to be." Facing the truth liberates us to build the society we wish to be. So the first piece about feeling good is about finding and being ourselves. So if you could just do the next song.
Maestro.
And this song is by Little Nas.
This door in the hole ain't never gonna let me grow. She won't close now. Honestly, she's slowing me down. And it seems this river will go ain't never gonna let me flow. These aimless rides on a boat and brought my tries to a halt. So can we keep it going, cause I miss the moments when the morning dawned on me. And I could see. So where do we go now? We see everything we had to see. So where are we going? So where do we go now? We did everything so endlessly, and only to feel undone. So where are we going? Suddenly, gravity's just like me, pulling me down every chance it gets, holding me bound to the way I is. Oh, and there's no need, it ain't no good for me. Why would I wanna talk about the shit I did? A penny for your thoughts is really all it is. So can we keep it going, cause I miss the moments when the morning dawned on me. And I could see. So where do we go now? We seen everything we had to see. We figured it out, my love. So where are we going? So where do we go now? We did everything so endlessly, and only to feel undone. So where are we going? So inside, I just wanna be somebody new inside. I just wanna be somebody else out there. I just wanna be somebody. I just wanna feel consoled inside. I just wanna be somebody new inside. I just wanna be somebody else out there. I just wanna be somebody. So where do we go now? Seen everything we had to see, and only feel undone. Where do we go?
So I wanted us to hear that song and reflect on the fact that in that discovering ourselves, there's something often bigger than what we've been present to. We've been perhaps something our whole lives, and yet there's a calling to be something more. Lil Nas says they really wanted to find a new version of themselves. And that new version is to just simply be more alive. So I ask you, what is the new version of ourselves? What new version can we open ourselves to being, to becoming? Now, I talked about the hero's journey. So one of the ways to come to that answer is by finding and being our heroes. Last night I inflicted Michael on watching The Blue Beetle. A lot of times there are movies on and I'm just like, I'm gonna watch this and I'm gonna drag him into it. And like I will sometimes give a list of what's available, and sometimes I just pick one. And Blue Beetle was what was, and he's like, well, what is this? And in Blue Beetle, the reason that I'm reflecting on the fact that I foisted it on Michael, now I'm going to get to foist it on all of you, is that in the opening credits of Blue Beetle, there are references to this history. There are references to this wonderful, heroic figure in the past with this Blue Beetle. And the way the Blue Beetle works is the little Blue Beetle ends up finding someone, selecting someone, and kind of merges with that person, and that person and Blue Beetle becomes something bigger than either of them was alone. And typical for the hero stories, the character, Jaime, who becomes merged with the Blue Beetle, it wasn't an easy unfolding. Graduates from college, comes home, everybody's excited to see him, and then they kind of let him have the bad news. The family's just about to lose everything. Their father has lost his workplace. They're going to lose their home. The father had a heart attack. And Jaime's like, you didn't tell me any of this stuff? And I'm like, we didn't want to interrupt what you were doing because you were the first member in the family that was going to college. And we wanted that for you. So the family was in support of his hero's journey. And he has this vision of the hero's journey, and he says, I can see us that we're going to get to this point where we're in a big house and we have everything we need. And then 3 months later, you see him in a big house. But you find out that he's not living in the big house, he's cleaning the big house. And while he's at the big house, the folks there are just so rude and so horrible and terrible that a relative of someone in the big house says, come find me tomorrow, because they fire him. And they let him know, I'll get you a job because you seem like a really good person. And when he goes to get the job, he ends up, because she has stolen the Blue Beetle, because she's really concerned about what's going to happen. But the whole place is on lockdown and on shutdown because of this thing that's missing. And she gives it to him in a little hamburger bag. So you're thinking, how is this heroic thing going to happen out of a hamburger bag? Sometimes things happen in ways that completely surprise us. So take a moment and think of some big change that happened in our lives. that happened in some way that we wouldn't have predicted based on the circumstances there. Maybe it was meeting someone. Maybe it was finding something. Maybe it was hearing something. But what came to us and opened a new way of being? So the beetle attaches itself to Heine's back, and he goes flying out through the ceiling of the kitchen, makes a hole in the house. And the flying is not the smooth, easy thing that you see, typically. It's pretty messy. How many of us find that as we're exploring our talents, it can be pretty messy? We may have an image in our mind about how it all is. And I know we talk about the power of our mind, and sometimes the power of our mind and the power of putting it out in the world don't always line up perfectly. And rather than giving ourselves a hard time about how we messed up or how we didn't do it as perfectly as we imagined, one of the beautiful things with the science of mind and the whole notion of treatment is it's treat, and you can keep treating until you get it exactly the way you want it. It isn't about reveling in failure. It's like, oh my God, I missed it. There's nothing I can do. Or the older religious traditions of, well, if I didn't come out exactly the way I wanted it, it might not be what God wants for me. It might not be what the universe wants for me. The science of mind flipped that around and said, it's like I just might not be ready for it yet. And what has to happen in me so that I become ready? And that's really the story of Heine and the blue beetle. The process is, how does he become ready? How do we become ready? How do we become the heroes? How many of us have had that practice where we were supposed to identify heroes, folks that inspire us? And then we do the next step and we list qualities of those heroes. And then the next step after we've listed the qualities of those heroes is to have that dawning moment and say, oh, those are my qualities. The whole reason that person inspires me is because they've tapped a part of who and what I am. They touch me because they are actually revealing more of what and who I am. Our heroes are a guide to who we are. And similarly, you know the process, you know the steps for, you find the people that the villains in our lives. And what are the qualities of the villains? And list those out. And it's like, oh, it becomes this other mirror. And it's like, ugh. So sometimes I can be a little big. Sometimes I can be a little bit too big. I take up too much room. Because I'm insecure. That's the person who really irritates me. I won't tell you about any former presidents who are seeking to become another president. And why that's so irritating. Because there's qualities of myself that it's like, oh, pay attention to me. Please pay attention to me. Please pick me, pick me, pick me. That process of finding our heroes and finding our villains, they're opportunities for self-exploration. They're opportunities for self-discovery. They're opportunities for self-reflection. So Bell Hooks wrote, "The heart of justice is truth-telling, seeing ourselves and the world the way it is rather than the way we want it to be." And I'm going to say that again. The heart of justice is truth-telling, seeing ourselves and our world the way it is rather than the way we want it to be. That's the miracle of the hero's journey. The hero is facing the world as it is. The hero may be seeking a world that they desire, but they are facing the world that is. They are facing the circumstances in the world that is. In Nas's song, he's talking about becoming open to changing. Sometimes the world as it is calls us to change. Sometimes the world as it is, we've just comfortably cruised along in the world as it is, and it has to stop. But it can't stop unless we recognize how we're contributing to it, how we keep it going, how we keep feeding it. I hate this, but. I wish this wouldn't happen, but. Our buts can be a huge truth-telling moment in our lives. When and where and how do we go into those buts? I would do this, but I learned linguistically, my sister is a speech and language pathologist, that all of this is great, but that linguistically what happens is everything you say before but gets thrown away. And really the only thing that the speaker really cares about is what follows the but. But I didn't mean that. I did mean it. When that's the argument, but I didn't mean it. There's a magic thing I've talked about before here. There's a moment of realization that people, my intention was this. I had this really good intention. But my impact was this crappy, icky thing that happened. We pin so much on our intention, and we might be hesitant to take responsibility for our impact. And the magic is to say, wait a second, stop getting so gung-ho about my good intention. You know, the saying, the road to hell is paved with good intention. What's my impact? What did I do? What happened? What heroics led to this here that happened? So if we can go to the next song. And I think this will be familiar to many folks. It's an oldie but goodie. I think most of the songs, well, Nas's isn't an oldie, but it's a goodie.
Beautiful
often do we let the heroes in our lives know that they've mattered? That's an indication that if there are people who have inspired us, how much effort would it take to simply let them know? So that's an assignment for this week. That's an assignment. If there's somebody that has been heroic or inspirational in our lives, let them know. Tell them. Celebrate them. And the mirror side, the flip side of this coin is that very deliberately acknowledge yourself for something heroic this week. We're not going to feel good if we don't own the good that we are. I don't have time for that. I would, but I'm so busy. Remember what I said about the but? I'm so busy. That's what we're really holding on to. Well, we're never going to feel good if all we find ourselves in is being too busy to pay attention to the good. The hero's journey is about discovery. Now, the hero's journey can be filled with things that don't feel good. Feeling good is this mixed up thing because sometimes it doesn't feel good, but the process enables us to feel more. To accept the full range of feeling to which we have capacity. Like, I don't want that. Well, you were designed for it. Tough. Do you want to stay small? If you're arguing for your smallness, is that really the position that you want to take? Now, the final piece that I want to explore, this movement talks about a global vision of a world that works for everyone. Wow, that sounds good, doesn't it? A world that works for everyone. I want to quote something that came from the minister's listserv. Dr. Raymond Anderson said, "A world that works is not achieved by twiddling our metaphysical thumbs and singing Kumbaya. It's by getting to the nitty-gritty of what ails those in our centers and our neighborhoods where the centers reside and beyond. Change for a better world starts in here, and we work it out in concentric circles around us." Now perhaps you've heard there's a biblical passage that, how do you take the splinter out of someone else's eye when you've got a big plank in your own? How many times have people said, "I don't know why you're accusing me of that because you're way worse than I ever am." The world that works for everyone happens by committing to a world that works for ourselves and seeing where it's not working for others and looking at what our impacts are that are perpetrating that are carrying it forward. And are we just feeling good with what we got accustomed to rather than calling it out? I'm kind of used to the fact that at school, I'm going to be an irritant. My building leadership team knows to expect that I'm going to ask, how is this decision that we are talking about, how is it going to affect the students in our school who are furthest from educational justice? How do we stop perpetrating practices that we've just acquired? So what are the impacts for each one of us? Where is it that we see that the world isn't working, and how are we contributing to a way that it will work better? And at the same time, how do we look at our own lives and see what we're doing to perpetrate what isn't working? So, the three things, the three main ideas for today are about finding and being ourselves. Who is that? It's that hero's journey. In the hero's journey, the hero becomes themselves. Who are ourselves? What have we held on to simply to please others? And what are we willing to embrace? What are we willing to accept? Like little Ma says, how do we find the new version of ourselves, and how do we be more alive? How do we find and be our own heroes? I give you a very practical exercise. You thank those who have inspired us, and you look at yourself. And you thank your own heroics. You acknowledge it. And then the shadow side of that is, for all of those people that really piss you off, to be able to look and say, well, what about them is getting me? I have a family that really pisses me off. They're very whiny. I can be pretty whiny. I learned that it's an easy way to get attention is to be the most needy, the one with the biggest problems. Stop it. Bob Newhart plays his character, the woman looking for a solution. I can't leave the house. Well, you know what? I have 2 easy words, and then you'll have it fixed. Really? Really? Yes, it's worked with hundreds of people. Stop it. Wait, don't you need to hear about the story? No, stop it. When we find our villains that are mirroring our own irritating things, stop it. Let our villains be as big the plane flying in the sky with the billboard, and look inside. And then for making the world that works for everyone, let's look beyond our intent. I mean for it to be a really good world. I mean to be a really good person. If in my intention I screw up and I don't deliver on that, then how do I make it right? For a world that works for everyone, that includes myself, that includes ourselves, how do we make the world that works for everyone work for us? That's the hero's journey. The hero may not arrive at the place they thought they would arrive at. In the story of the Blue Beetle, there were disappointments. There were things that you wouldn't look at it and say, oh, that's how the story should have gone. There were losses. And the fact is that we all have losses. That's one of the pieces that makes us human together. That we can be present to and be with each other. in those moments of loss. That in that loss, we've heard the idea that our heart is broken and our broken heart is now bigger. There are more pieces to that broken heart than what we had before. So for a world that works for everyone, be willing to make the impacts that we desire. And so I have a affirmation, and of course I didn't give it to Michael so that you could all see it, but it's fairly simple, so you should be okay without seeing it. I am co-creating a world that works for everyone. A world that works for everyone. So we did it once. I am co-creating a world that works for everyone. And one more time. I am co-creating a world that works for everyone. And so it is.
So is that my key?
Yes.
I thought so. Isn't that really good stuff? Oh, okay. I remember when I did.
In the sky, you know how I feel. Birds flying
I
high,
can't hear it if I turn the volume down.
you know how I feel.
You'd have had to sing it otherwise.
Oh,
Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life
that sums up this month.
for me. And I'm feeling good.
I love this part.
I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on a tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. of the blind. You know how I feel. Oh, freedom is divine, and I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling so good. I feel so good.
He's very bubbly.
That was cute.